Matthew 15. This one today is our thoughts, just simply this: the threat of tradition. Hear me clearly. Not all tradition is bad. Some is very good. But we also need to recognize that tradition has a way of keeping us from following where God is leading, because we are bound to what has occurred and not maybe what God is up to. So let's just think about this for a moment. What does it mean, the threat of tradition? Well, I think first of all, churches and believers face this reality. We face this temptation of traditions coming in and compensate or over control us of truly what's going on. And so we hear statements like, well, we've never done it that way before, or we've tried it and it didn't work. And so we usually allow these to become the basis or the argument of why tradition must be kept and nothing new must occur. So when we think about traditions, what does this passage here in Matthew 15 tell us? Well, first of all, I think it tells us that without caution, we allow tradition to rule the day. And here the Pharisees were more concerned with their tradition of the law than they were about the truth that Jesus was teaching about engaging the lives of others. They were more concerned about the letter of the law and the legalism that followed it instead of engaging and impacting the people they were engaging and reaching into. At the same time, we must understand that traditions are costly. So it's not just that they rule the day, but they're costly because they lead us to sinful activity. I'm not meaning costly monetarily. They could be, but we're talking about how they cost us because they guide us into a life of sin that keeps us from living truly where God is leading and directing our path. Traditions keep us and cost us from being right in the middle of God's will. And so we need to recognize and identify the threat of traditions. What is that? Well, traditions, they threaten us because they often blind us from following the Lord. Because things become centered on us and really become centered on routines or the organization or relationships or religion, and it's no longer based on the Lord. And so tradition, and when it exists or elevates the needs of the self over the needs of others. That's why it's a threat. And as a result, we need to recognize that when tradition dominates, that we truly need to strive to readjust our priorities and refocus our lives to seek Christ and to live out the Great Commission and the Great Commandment. You know, not all traditions are bad. Not all traditions are good. But we must make sure that when we participate in tradition, that it aligns with God's calling in our lives. Because we want to battle not to become the Pharisees, but to be God's children who are faithful. We'll see you next week.